And it's that time again. That's right. It is time for the soon-to-be award-winning Student of the Gun radio program. Now, we're coming to you this week from the road. Now, as you hear this, we may or may not be on the road, but that doesn't matter because as I sit here, I sit across the table from my good friend, Mr. Jay Gibson. Jay, say hello to the audience.
Hello, everybody. That's
Jay Gibson. He is a lead instructor for tactical response. He works for Mr. James Yeager, and we... myself and Jared are up in Camden, Tennessee right now as we record this, and we are right in the middle of the fighting rifle program. We decided to take a break. Actually, it's the evening, so we're taking a break. We're going to record this week's show. Before we get into it, who do we want to thank? Well, we always want to thank our good friends at Keltec Firearms of Cocoa, Florida. Check them out at KeltecWeapons.com, and also good friends at Crossbreed Holsters. That's right, you guys know it. Crossbreed Holsters, Republic, Missouri. Check them out at crossbreedholsters.com. Now, you guys know, if you've been paying attention, if you listened to last week's episode, that it's very appropriate that we are here at Tactical Response because what are we doing, Jay? We're giving away training, right?
That's right.
That's right. Now, Jay, do you know what we're giving away?
No, I don't.
It's
giving away?
In a 2-day class. That's right. And my buddy here, Jay, he's just itching to meet the winners of the Student of the Gun contest, aren't you?
That is correct.
Yes, we're doing for October, November, and December. Each month we're going to pick a winner, and the winners will be picked from like we always do, from our active subscribers list. So if you are an active subscriber to the Student of the Gun newsletter, and if you're not, shame on you, so go ahead and fix yourself. But if you're an active subscriber, we're going to be picking 3 names, and those folks will be able to choose any of the 2-day courses that Tactical Response puts on. So whether it's fighting pistol, fighting rifle, what are some of your 2-day courses, Jay, besides fighting pistol and rifle?
We got pistol, rifle, shotgun. The immediate action medical is also 2 days long. And there is also our Force on Force class we refer to as the fight.
Excellent, excellent. So if you guys haven't done it already, go over to studentofthegun.com. Over there on the right-hand side, just fill out your information, click it. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to sell your addresses. All we're going to do is we're going to let you know what is new and cool and what is going on with Student of the Gun. Now, speaking of stuff that's new and cool and going on with Student of the Gun, guess what? Jay, you probably don't even know this yet. Now, you know that XS Sights is a sponsor of Student of the Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
And you have XS Sights. You believe in XS Sights.
That's correct.
That's correct. Well, XS Sights, they sponsor the television show, obviously. They are good friends, and they have been our good friends for a long time. And I was talking to my friends down there in Fort Worth, Texas, here this last week about Student of the Gun Radio and how every week we do a Student of the Week. And so what we did is we kind of came to an agreement that every Student of the Week, what they're going to get is they're going to get a good guy package. That's something that if you're not familiar with XS Sights, shame on you, and you can easily fix yourself by going to XS Sights, XSSightsystems.com, right, Jared? Jared's waving at me over there. Yeah, XS Sight Systems. Just Google XS Sights. It's real super easy. But one of the things that they started doing many years ago on their black T-shirts is they put the word "good guy." It looks like it's all one word together on the back of the shirt, kind of like your police, security, whatever. Well, if you're an XS Sights guy, you are a good guy. And what they're going to do is they're going to give away an XS Sights Good Guy package. You're going to get a T-shirt, a hat, stickers, one of their tote bags, all that cool stuff. So we're pretty excited about it. I mean, we've been giving away T-shirts and stickers and what have you, but now if you are the XS Sights Good Guy for the Student of the Week, you're going to get a whole package from those guys down there. A lot of really good people, very solid dudes, make very good stuff for rifles, pistols, shotguns, you name it. So check them out at XS Sights. Now, we're going to jump into this right now. This week, we're going to talk about rewriting the Bill of Rights. Jay, have you seen this story about the high school textbook in Texas that decided to just go ahead and paraphrase the Second Amendment?
No, I haven't seen that particular one.
Yeah, they decided this is it's been all over Facebook and what have you, but if you haven't been paying attention, if you actually are one of the few Americans that work all week long and have a job and don't just sit at home watching TV collecting a check, if you're one of those guys, you may not have heard it. But it turns out that the textbook is called Preparing for the Advanced Placement Exam. And you're thinking, wow, probably a pretty important book right there. Well, if you look in here, they've just decided that they're going to paraphrase the Bill of Rights. I guess, and according to the book, it says, Second Amendment, in quotes, the people have the right to keep and bear arms in a state militia. Yep. That's what it says in the textbook. Now, when questioned about this, there's a video out there as well. You can watch it. The school board said, well, that's not the only textbook we use. We use several. That's just one of them. And when asked if they plan to take it down, they said no. They did not have any plans to remove that textbook. So, now, what do you guys think about that out there? Jay, give me your thoughts and opinions on why a high school preparatory textbook would just decide to paraphrase the Second Amendment.
I don't know. Either in the sake of brevity or that's giving them the benefit of the doubt, but probably on the more pessimistic side of me, they're going to keep pushing this toward this militia thing, which I believe in their definition of it happens to be the National Guard. I feel that every time they say that, they mean the National Guard, and that's technically not what was originally intended. And so I think it's a subtle, just more subtle suggestion that this is the normal thing, the way things are going. And so you catch them early in high school, and you just keep dropping it in there, and before long, it's dried like cement, so it's in there good. It's bad, it's wrong, they should pull it down.
Well, and you guys out there, this is why it's very important for you guys, even though you have a career and a family and you've got all these things going, you need to know what your kids are being taught, because it's not like when we were kids. I mean, my parents just assumed that what I was being taught was correct. And, as I look back on it in this, from the 70s and 80s, it basically was. But today, you can't assume that your kids are being taught what you want them to be taught. If you assume that, you do that at your own peril, because there is junk like this. Your kids come home, and we first noticed it when my daughter was like in first grade, and she comes home and she said, "Do we have alcohol in our house?" And we're like, well, there's probably a bottle of wine in the cupboard, and there might be a couple of beers left over in the fridge from whatever. And she goes, well, my teacher said that if you drink alcohol and we have it in our house, that you're probably an alcoholic. And this is first grade. I'm like, oh, I'm glad that your teacher felt the need to. Folks, you think that you like, well, that's a one instance. Really? Read the paper. Well, nobody reads the paper anymore, but Google your news or Yahoo your news or whatever. It's not. It's systematic. They're more worried about talking to your kids about Earth Day and their feelings than they are about history. And well, if it's history that we really don't want to talk about, we'll just paraphrase it so that it sounds like we want it to sound. And folks, if your kids are in public schools, you have to be vigilant like a hawk. You just have to. You have no choice unless you just, throw your hands up and say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. But now, we've decided, Jared and I decided off air last week that we're going to do a regular update called the Slave State News. And you guys know who you are. Guys live in slave states. We had a situation which occurred last week, I think right after we recorded this, where two NYPD officers not just two. Okay, right now it says it listed only two. This is from USA Today's website, if we can believe Pravda. But and for those of you who went to public school, Google Pravda, so you know what I'm talking about. But two NYPD police officers opened fire on a man who they said was acting erratically and dodging cars on a busy street. that wasn't quite bad enough. They struck 2 bystanders. Oops. So you guys, you students of the gun out there, Jay, before somebody can skin their Roscoe and legitimately and lawfully start launching bullets at people, what do you, as a citizen, what things do you have to check off in your brain housing group before you just start launching bullets?
Well, 3 things you need is intent, ability, and opportunity. If you don't have any of those, then skinning that thing out and getting on the trigger is not one of your options right there. So in other words, if that person is dodging cars out in the street, doesn't have the intent, ability, opportunity to do you bodily harm, this is not some case where you're going to want to get a gun in your hand and start going to work. And despite the fact that once they start launching those bullets, now they're going to, who knows where. So that's a pretty bad situation there.
Well, and Bloomberg, he loves to disarm the people because you peasants, don't have the training and qualifications to carry guns out amongst the citizens. Only his minions apparently do. And the follow-up on this is that they said, well, he kept putting his hands in his pockets. So apparently in New York, if you behave in an erratic manner and put your hands in and out of your pockets quickly, they have the justification to kill you. Well, they can shoot at you. They probably won't shoot you, but they can shoot at you. And as a capper to this story, after they launched bullets and struck innocent bystanders, 2 women got shot. After they did that, they put their guns away and they ended up tasering them. So, right. And if you guys have been actually paying attention, you'll know that wasn't it the guy who committed a murder? It was in Manhattan. Guy shot a guy in a fit of rage, and the police showed up and they emptied like 31 rounds and hit 7 bystanders. Like 6 months ago, I think it was. Ooh. Just, I guess if you Google NYPD shoots bystander, you probably get several different stories right there. But as responsible citizens, as people who are responsible and understand that you can't just launch bullets indiscriminately around the landscape, you need to, like we said, ability, opportunity, and intent. And if you can't check those blocks off, you don't start launching bullets. Yeah. Nope. We talked about this one a little bit off air, and it's kind of, I have a daughter, and if my daughter was assaulted, I would be horrified. I'd be angry. I'd be, very, very upset. But I also know that my daughter has attended fighting pistol, and my daughter knows which end the business end of a handgun is. But apparently Tony Blair's daughter, well, she knows the business end because according to the story from worldnews.NBC News, Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister's daughter, was held at gunpoint during failed robbery attempt. And I guess we could call this more of our slave state news, or maybe slave nation news. But the article says that the daughter of the prime minister was held at gunpoint in a failed robbery attempt as she walked her dog with her boyfriend. 2 armed robbers, one holding a gun, demanded jewelry and cash from Catherine Blair, 25. And this happened in London at approximately 8:35 p.m. local time. Now, here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is, says the London's Metropolitan Police statement was, a firearm was used, but no shots were fired, and none of the victims were injured. And when asked how the situation, de-escalated or evolved, they said that they have no comment as to what happened exactly, and that they're still investigating it. So, right.
I don't know.
So, for all of you, how many of you guys out there, guys or gals, you have a friend, a relative, a neighbor who loves to tell you what a panacea London, England, Australia, India, all these places, they're so safe. they're wonderful. There's like unicorns and fairies, and people skip down the streets, and there's no violence because they've outlawed guns. Jay, you're a world traveler, Jay. Have you been to this place in the world that is a panacea with unicorns and fairies and people skip down the streets? Tell me about your world travels and whether or not you've ever encountered that.
No, I haven't had the opportunity to go to any place that fits that description yet. I guess I'm still looking for it too.
Now, have you been to England?
Just to travel through there.
Just to travel through. Through. I've been to England, and my biggest, I guess, the biggest impression that I got from my travels to Europe was, when you were in the Corps, Jay was in the Corps, I was in the Corps, and they used to tell us this before they give us Libo briefs, and for you guys, that's Liberty briefings, and they would give us this speech about don't be the ugly American, do your best to, be an ambassador for your nation. And from my personal experience, Italy, France, England, you couldn't out-rude those people on your best day. Jay, are you with me, brother?
Yeah, clearly in terms of France, I was in the airport long enough to determine I didn't want to be in France any longer than I had to be. And there's probably some real nice French people there. They're just not employed at the airport, apparently. But I get what you're saying. I know what you mean. There's definitely two different. There's a noticeable cultural difference.
Well, what I noticed in France is that all of the nightclubs were members-only nightclubs, and it cost like 60 francs to be a member because they knew that G.I. Joe was not going to drop 60 francs to go into a club one time. Right. They knew that, and they're like, well, this is how we can keep the riffraff the French or the American peasants out of our clubs is, we'll make them we'll make them members-only clubs.
Right.
So now we dropped one on you last week, and some of you guys caught it, and we appreciate that. We dropped the term vagination, and the United States is slowly but surely becoming a vagination. When we have people in L.A. they cancel the handgun, the firearm safety classes because that's too dangerous because someone might see the gun. They might see a training tool that looks like a gun and be scared, and there'll be a SWAT call out. Not because there was a felony in progress, but because someone saw. That's what we do in America right now, apparently. When you see the image of a firearm, you call SWAT because you're so scared. And we've got another one here in an Ohio town, Oberlin, Ohio. Apparently, they are so afraid of inanimate objects in Oberlin that they are panicking. And this comes to us from Fox News. It says Ohio town readies for a battle over weapons in parks law. Now, it used to be that they had this whole you cannot carry concealed in a park, and then the court struck it down. So people are going to be carrying in this Oberlin, Ohio park, and they're so afraid. The council is so afraid. They said no one on this council is in favor of this, but we needed to. Apparently, they had a law prohibiting it. In Oberlin, Ohio, they had a law prohibiting you carrying concealed in a local park. But in accordance to the state statute, Ohio actually, if you know anything about Ohio, Jay, you know that like 10 years ago they went insane, and all these cities started passing ordinances. Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, they're like, oh, we'll pass our own ordinance that says even though the state allows you, we're going to forbid it. You can't have any magazines that hold more than 2 rounds and all that. And the Ohio Supreme Court's like, no, you guys just can't start trumping the state law. Sorry, not allowed to do that. And so what these guys are having to do now is they're having to go back and rescind these laws and remove them. And it's really bunging them up because you know how dangerous guns are and how no one should ever not carry one, but even see or look at one because they're that dangerous. So apparently the city council in Oberlin is really, really concerned that people carrying guns in the park is going to create a hazard for the population. And we just wanted to give them the city council in Oberlin, Ohio, give them the vagination nod this week. This is according to the council member Sharon Fairchild Sosi. Jared, what do we know about women who hyphenate their last names? That they're crazy liberal women. 9 out of 10, or 99 out of 100 women who hyphenate their last name have some type of a liberal mental disease going on. And according to Sharon Fairchild Sosi, Oberlin does not want people bringing guns into its parks, even though the state says you can't stop them to. So they're having a hard time up there in Oberlin because they're afraid people are going to have guns. The citizens that actually did that whole, I had my fingerprints taken and had my picture taken, and I gave the state $140, and I did all that stuff. But those apparently are the people that we need to be really, really afraid of, not the crack dealers, apparently. So there's that. And how do we get people to write into the show? We mention their state or their country on the radio, and they're all about it. Now, Jay, while we've got you here and while we're talking about Fighting Rifle, a lot of the audience guys out there, they're sitting out there and they're listening to the show and they're thinking, well, I've got these guns, especially a rifle. Dudes and dudettes, but mostly dudes over the last 12 months, 18 months, have been scooping up black rifles like crazy people. Now they own them. Now they're gun owners, but they don't know. And they basically know the name on the box and they have the gun. They know what kind of ammo goes in it, but that's it. How does that guy, the guy who thought, ooh, I better grab myself up an AR of some style before they're outlawed, how does he learn to use that tool?
Well, first and foremost, I tell them to go to tacticalresponse.com and our discussion forum, Get Off the X. Go in there, and there's some people that are more than likely in the same boat that he is in, and there's going to be frequently asked questions in there and discussions about this or that or the other thing, and he can jump in on that, and that'd be my first suggestion to him. And I know everybody's on a budget, and there's folks have families and bills and things like this, but as soon as they can put away enough scratch to do so, they need to go somewhere and get some formalized training, right? As fun as it is going out in the backyard and blasting stuff, as long as it's legal for you to do that, in that it's your property, that's cool. But some formal training where there's somebody there that is watching you through a critical eye and correcting things and make suggestions and kind of coaching you through all these things. That is going to help you out a whole lot more than it would be if you just kind of went through this thing as trial and error, because that could get extremely expensive with the cost of ammo and so forth, the way that it is. So those are two good sources. Another good source is YouTube. Follow James's YouTube videos on there. He's got lots of suggestions on there. And the titles are really easy to follow, like, how to load this, how to fix this, how to do this. So just type that in, watch the video, and enjoy.
And now, your basic fighting pistol class is 2 days. Your fighting rifle class is 2 days.
Yes.
So let's just say that the dudes and dudettes out there, now the classes are open to women too, right?
Correct.
We want to make sure that you ladies out there know, some of you ladies are like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. Jump in. Mm-hmm. Get it. Am I right, Jay?
Correct. Come on.
And Jerry's a very gentle guy. He'll treat you very nicely. He'll treat you with kid gloves. He'll be gentle with you. But you should get down to a class like fighting rifle. Now, Jay, let's say they want to do it. They're interested. What can they expect if they book a seat? They book a seat in fighting rifle. What really can they expect from the class? What can they expect to do or to get out of it? Okay,
well, we're going to allow you to shoot a large number of rounds over a very short period of time. And there's going to be some shooting your rifle, transitioning to your handgun. We're going to shoot around cover. We're going to shoot on the move. We're going to do a little bit of team tactics, some fire maneuver, communication. Not a whole lot of people talk while they are shooting their rifle, like sending a message across to a teammate or a partner or something like that. And I think a lot of that is kind of lost on them. Like once we get kind of slave to the gun, we stop communicating in any form. And the shooting is just a small part of it. There's a bigger picture here, and you got to be able to do, walk and chew bubble gum at the same time kind of thing. And so here we're going to allow you to do that, and we're actually going to encourage it. Through my personal training history, I've been to a few places. I got sent there. Uncle Sam sent me there, or sometimes I invested some money or whatever. And I got told a lot of things like, don't do this, never do that. You should not touch this, and don't step forward this line and that line, and don't go past this or whatever. And I said, okay, well, you gave me a lot of don'ts. What am I supposed to do? And you're just kind of left on your own to just kind of figure it out. And I thought, well, why is he telling me not to touch my own rifle? I mean, I brought it here. It's mine. When I go home, I'm going to touch it a lot. And but anyway, it was a lot of these things. It was seemed very, very restrictive, all under the auspices of being safe. And I said, well, if you don't let that guy handle that thing and do what he's supposed to do, he's not going to become comfortable with it. He's not going to become familiar with it. He's going to have a lot of apprehension and things like this. And before you know it, he's going to end up doing something that he wishes he did not do. So when I say that you're going to show up and we're going to allow you to do a lot of things, we're going to let you do them a lot, as many times as you wish to do them, until you are happy with what you did, or until you just get sick of hearing me talk, and whichever comes first.
Well, today I can tell you, having been out on the range today with several different guys, we find that this is an excellent place, and I'm sure Jay will agree with me, but I'll say it anyway, that when you buy stuff, how many guys out there, they buy a gun, and they're like, it's like the American Barbie doll, or the Mr. Potato Head for adults. Sure. And they go out and they buy that black rifle, and they're like, okay, I got a black rifle. Now I got to get stuff to put on it, because it's built to have stuff put on it. I mean, that's why you got it, right? Mm-hmm. And they buy the accessories and all that jazz. They buy the kit, stuff to put stuff in. But how many of you guys actually ever really get out there and use it in the real world, or in a training environment? And a lot of this stuff that you guys buy, there's really good kit out there, and then there's some junk. Mm-hmm. And how do you know? Well, I was on a forum, and the guy who manufactures this told me that it was awesome. I love that. Yeah. Like, who told you you should buy this? The guy that makes it said that I should buy it. Well, imagine that. That's kind of crazy. But if your equipment is going to fail, if it's going to go down, we were blessed with sunshine today, but last night it rained like we were going to have to build an ark. I mean, it was coming down like nobody's business. So the range was muddy. Mm. It was nasty. And everything that got dropped got mud on it. And the Tennessee mud is like red concrete. It dries very hard, very quickly. And, even the venerable AK-47 rifle, which, people like, you run them over with tanks and pick them up and shoot them, and they're great. They're great until you get some of that red Tennessee mud in the chamber and it dries. Mm. And then it's not going to work no more. But this is a great place, taking an official training course to find out if all that kit that I just bought is going to work. Mm-hmm. Now, Jay, I know my brother. He's looking at me. He's like, I know what he's going to say. You've got some stories in your head there of dudes who show up with kit, and you try and guide them like the wonderful, loving shepherd that you are. Jay has a big crook, and he's got the robe. He's a wonderful shepherd, and he attempts to guide people. But sometimes people, they don't want to be guided. Mm. They just have to step on their own feet. Mm-hmm. And can you think of any learning experience instances where people showed up and despite attempts to correct them or help them, they just had to make those mistakes on their own? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just generally it seems to be a guy thing. I mean, we kind of have this conception that we it's in our chromosomes to already know all this stuff. At birth, we would guys say stuff like this, lifelong shooter or whatever. Well, I don't know how that's technically possible, because you would have to come out of the womb with a gun in your hand. I'm not sure that that's even possible, but in either case, so like he said, they're just going to be real stubborn and resistant to it, and they're just going to have to. You can tell them all day long until they actually witness it. And then maybe a few times after that, they're still going to continue to try to use this piece of, in this case, equipment, until they get home that night and they say, you know what, I'm just going to quietly unbolt this and I'm going to slide it back into this range bag, and then I'm going to try to hook this thing up on eBay at a later date. And I know this is going to happen because we typically go through a series of back and forth statements. And so, for example, guy has a thing. I'm going to refer to it. My friend Aaron Little refers to them as dubers, and I think that's a great term. So, guy has a duber on his rifle, and it's impeding him being able to actually shoot his rifle. So, I don't know how this is beneficial to him, but nonetheless, it's on there. So, I ask him, "Hey, do you really need that duber on there?" And the guy will usually look at me, and he will say, "This duber?" And I will say, "Yes, you are correct, that duber." And then he says, "But I paid $800 for it." So he'll tell me what he paid for it, which is, he might as well be saying, "That's going to stay on here for a while anyway." And I'm going to say, "Good luck with that." And then I'm going to leave him alone for a little while. And then eventually, probably around day 2, he shows up and it's not on there. So at some point, he came to the realization that, like, maybe I didn't need this. Maybe that guy on that forum was maybe full of it. And usually that guy is telling him, "Look, don't Loctite this on, because when you lose it, you'll have to buy another one from me." So I'll get to make some money off of 2 of them. But in either case, it's kind of this learning path that we all have to take. And we all have that box somewhere with the miscellaneous this or that, holsters, belts, various dubers that we tried to make them work, and it just didn't get it done. And so we have that box. I know all of us are going to have the box. I just want to reduce the size of your box, like from Foot Locker size down to maybe shoe box. And so I think your budget will be better off in the long run if you go that way.
Now, as far as, let's say you've got a dude and he's got a black rifle. He's got the basic black rifle that he bought from the local gun shop, and he wants to come to a school. Are there some things that you would recommend that he should pick up, before he gets on the bus to come to visit you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to need some reliable magazines. PMags are great. If you can get them, you should jump on those all day long. Beyond that, some USGI mags are good to go. Get those 2 things. Those should be your top of the line choices right there. And you need a sling. You need a good 2-point or a single point sling. I don't care which one, but it needs to be one of those 2 things. If any more points than that, it's going to be pointless. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
So anyway, 1 or 2 point, and you need that. And after you come to class, we're going to talk about some things, but at a later point, when your budget allows it, you need to mount a no BS fighting light on your rifle, so you have a 24-hour gun, and you need a good set of sights. So if you got the GI ones that come on there, they will do. Your next best thing you can do is exchange them for XS type sights. So you'll have the tritium front sight, and then at some point later on, you may decide to go with a red dot, and if you decide to go with that, aim point is probably going to be the way you want to go. Next choice after that probably be like an EOTech, something like that. But you're going to need some mags first. You're going to need a sling, and that'll get you going. And then we're gonna shoot the bejesus out of it. And then after that, we'll start looking at maybe getting some other aftermarket stuff.
Now, should the average guy, he's on the forums and he sees plate carriers and he sees chest pouches and he sees all this different stuff. And he might be thinking, well, I don't want to invest $185 in a G.I. Joe chest pouch. Is there any other way that guy can get, I mean, besides with just stuffing magazines in his pockets, what else can he do to carry his magazines on his body while he's going through training?
Okay. Well, when he is signing up for class, we have some chest rigs here that we can loan him. And maybe he's not, 100% on whether he wants a chest rig or not. You're going to give one a test drive and see if that's what he wants to do. When he signs up, he can talk to the lovely Marilyn, and she will take care of him as far as that goes. Outside of that, there's a thing called a subload, which hooks to your belt, and it will take those magazines and mount them to one of your legs. And so you got a couple options there. You got those two things going on. And there's also guys that I know that have just taken just an ordinary, like a Musette bag, they used to refer to them as, kind of like a courier pouch or a mail bag.
Kind of like a shoulder bag,
yeah,
or whatever,
like a shoulder bag.
A big strap shoulder bag.
Yeah, and they just throw that around their shoulder and just drop everything in there and just call it done. There's nothing saying you can't do that either.
All right, let's get into our student of the week. Now, remember, our student of the week is going to be the good guy of the week, the good guy pack, and that's brought to you by our friends at XS Sights. Now, Larry wants to know, when should I get my daughter involved in shooting or firearms-related education? That is an excellent question. And my feeling is, well, you know your kids better than anybody else. You should know your kids better than anyone else. And, there are very mature 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and there are very immature 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. So it's going to be, number one, you need to gauge their maturity. Number two, you need to understand that a child has much shorter attention span than an adult. Even modern adults that are all, hamburgers and microwaves. But what I would say to you, number one, forget about shooting first. You're like, I want to take my kids out shooting. Well, I know you want to take your kids out shooting, fantastic. But before you take them out there, set them down. And this is what I did with mine. Set them down, get the guns, unload the guns, whatever it is, a .22 rifle, a shotgun, a pistol, whatever. Doesn't matter. A firearm. Put it on the table, bring them in, sit them around, and say, okay, this is a firearm. And this is what it does. And this is why it's dangerous. And let the kid touch it. Let them put their little mitts on it. Remove that mystery, that whole, well, when mom and dad aren't home, I have to search around and find this thing, People are like, well, no, how many dudes and wives? Wives, I love you guys because wives can be excellent students. Wives can come to your classes. They can ask intelligent questions. They can be attentive. They can do all that. But wives can also do this crazy stuff like, I want all these guns out of our house because it's just too dangerous having our children under the same roof with them. You have your children under the same roof with electricity and fire and water and gravity and poison. You got them under the roof with all those things. And fire, water, poison, gravity, those things kill kids every single year, but you still have them in your home. So, and are you going to be with your kid from the moment that they come out of your womb till the day they graduate from college and go away? Are you going to be with them every moment, sheltering them and safeguarding them? Or do you think there may be a chance that they may be somewhere on planet Earth and they encounter a firearm? And I know that your home is a gun-free zone, but the world is not a gun-free zone. You want your kid to be the one that says, hey, don't point that thing at me. Don't even pick it up. Or do you want your kid to be the one, oh, I've never seen one of those. Hand it to me. And I've always strived. Jared was one of those kids. Paxton was one of those kids. Zachary was one of those kids. The kids that knew if they went to their buddy's house and, their buddy's friend Jimmy, who's a little hoodlum, pulls out whatever, look what I found in my dad's closet. They would be the ones that say, don't point that thing at me, and you shouldn't even have it. So give your kids the education. Remove the mystery. Jay, you're tracking 5x5 with me?
Yeah, all the way.
And then once you feel like, but the thing is, dude, don't make it a 35-minute lecture. You can do that whole, this is a firearm, this is what it is, this is a dangerous part. And, the Eddie Eagle deal, like if you go somewhere and there's a gun, leave the area, tell an adult, don't pick it up. That's all you need to know. You can do that in 15 minutes. And then when it's time to go to the range, when my kids were 5, 6 years old, I got the little mini bolt single shot. A lot of guys, it's bull crap. Now, it makes them do something. And that great thing about the little mini bolt from Henry is they have to go through the meticulous steps to do it. And they learn to do it. Boy, they become little mechanical creatures when they're doing it, and they know what they're doing. And some of the most beautiful words that my daughter has ever said to me, and it touched my heart, and I felt a tear. It was welling up in the corner of my eye. I went and I picked my daughter up from school one afternoon, and she looked up at me, and she said, "Daddy, when can we go to the range again?" I said, "Honey, I love you so much. You make me so proud." And then we were at the range, and she said, "Do you have any more ammo?" Oh, I don't know if I can go on. I might have to turn the microphone over to Jay because I'm so touched by remembering that story. But you know your kids better than anybody else. You know whether your kids are mature or not. I'm not telling you to keep the guns in their rooms, but what I am telling you is that if you think that or if you have friends or neighbors, or your cousin Sue tells you that you're crazy for having guns in your home with children because like the guns are going to jump out of the safe and molest your kids at night, it's naive. It's naive and it's immature to think, well, if I hide guns from my kids, they'll never encounter them ever, 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 ever. That's like saying, well, I don't teach my kids about fire because we don't have fire in my house. So I just won't teach them. And people are like, well, guns are dangerous. And how can you expect a child to understand not to play with a gun? Did you teach your kids not to turn on the stove and put their hand on it? Most 3-year-olds know not to stick their fingers in the wall sockets. You taught them that. But they can't be taught not to play with a gun? Come on, folks. Let's be real. Now, so congratulations, Larry. Larry, you know who you are. And you posted the question. Now, you guys have noticed that Jared's been silent. He's been over there working the board this whole time. He's doing a fantastic job while we're talking to Jay. But all you guys have to do, if we answer your question on the air, just go to info@studentofthegun, send and say, hey, this is my address, this is my T-shirt size, and we'll fire off your stuff to Excess Sights, and I'll send it to you. Now, Jay is he's one of my long-distance peer counseling friends, because every once in a while I encounter a situation that is so bizarre and so strange that I don't really know how to address it. And I call my friend Jay up and I say, Jay, I'm perplexed. I'm on the roof. I'm ready to jump, Jay. Talk me in off the roof. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Jay and I have kibitzed about for the last several years is folks who want to get on these forums and tell you that you should never attempt to render first aid to people because it's too dangerous and you're going to get sued. Jay, tell me about your feelings.
Yeah, I think that these people would sing a different tune if they are laying there bleeding out or gasping for air. And I don't think that the message comes out across well enough because probably because I'm saying it in much a cavalier way. And probably the more prevalent reason is they really don't believe they're going to end up there. They really do not see it happening. It happens time and time again. Somebody is hurt or heart attack or choking on something or unconscious or whatever. And they're kind of laying there and there's a semicircle of people just kind of standing around them, looking at them. And maybe our fervent gaze will, make them snap out of whatever it is that's happening there. And they're just kind of hoping somebody else will just push in there and lay hands on and make it all go away. It'll kind of change the channel. That's if Murphy's Law says if I'm the guy laying there, there's nobody pushing those people aside and rendering aid on me. And this other part about waiting to get, or I don't want to get sued or this or that or the other thing. I have a hard time believing that there's a court in the land, even California, that would prosecute this guy if he did something to save this other person's life. They'd turn to the jury and say, hey, look, this guy did this and I'm around to bring him to court and try to sue him. What say you? What should I do? and I expect them to look at them and say, a thank you would be nice. And so I don't understand that. And anything that you do that can improve the situation, you should do it. The other assumption is that somebody has called 911 and they're just minutes away. I know of 2 instances right now, just off the top of my head, that everybody assumed that 911 was called, and it wasn't. Nobody was coming. And just one of those things that just happened. And you're also assuming, but I've had some people tell me, but there's thousands of hospitals everywhere. I say, yeah, all you got to do is make it to one of them. That's it. So how are you going to do that? Because this semicircle of people around you are not moving you towards that hospital. The other point is, too, that they're always going to assume that there's cell phone coverage. And let's face it, not every place has cell phone service. It's up and down. It's in and out. And again, Murphy's Law is this phone's going to fail me when I need to make this phone call. And so I just don't understand why there's this kind of
pushback against.
Yeah. And well, I mean, listen, if you're one of those guys that constantly, type in and tell Paul or anybody else, listen, don't render aid because you're not licensed or qualified to do that or anything. Then if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Step out of the way, get out of the way. If you are one of those guys that has that tourniquet or has that airway or has something like that, and you know that, hey, red stuff needs to stay inside this guy's body. Air needs to go in and out of his nose. I'm going to shove this little tube in there to make that happen. If you are that guy, jump down there and get busy. All right. And damn what anybody else says. If they want to take you to court, well, that comes later. Problem 1 will be saving your life. Problem 2 will be everything else.
Yeah, it's almost unfathomable for people that say, yeah, and I have to question the motivation when it's not enough, to say, well, I don't want to do it or I would never do that. Okay, drive on. It's your life. Don't do it. But you want to discourage others from doing it so that you can feel, is it a psychological thing? Well, I'm not going to do it, and I don't want anybody else to either because that'll make me feel like I'm in the majority or I'm the smart guy or something, And folks, I'm going to tell you what, it's freaking irresponsible. If you're walking around out there, if you're a dude or a dudette and you got a gun on, you're carrying a Roscoe because it's your right as an American and so forth, great, drive on. But at the same time, you're not just responsible for, the whole reason you have that thing in your waistband, your purse, whatever, is to preserve life. You're not an executioner. You're not hitman. Mm-hmm. You're there. It's there to preserve and protect life, yours, your family, your friends, or what have you. So why don't you apply that same logic and thought process to a basic, traumatic first aid kit or traumatic first aid training? And, people are like, oh, I carry a gun, but I would never do that because it's best to be left to the professionals. Well, let me tell you what, Sarah Brady and all of her sycophant friends think that carrying guns should be left to the professionals too, like the guys at NYPD. Those dudes they're switched on, obviously. And I know what I'm going to get. Jared, look at me. At this moment in time, I'm going to make a prediction. Someone from NYPD is going to write and say, what a bad man I am for bringing that up. But folks, and 20 years ago, the information really wasn't there. The only way you could get it was go to an EMT school or paramedic school or what have you. It was this secret ninja magic that we weren't allowed to let other people know about. Well, today it's different. You can go to the immediate action medical class. You can take a Beyond the Band-Aid class. And in 2 days, you can learn the stuff you need to know to keep and close your eyes and think of who you see when you wake up in the morning. Who do you see before you go to bed at night? That's why you're taking a medical class. Not so you can be medical man and go running around the mall looking for people that are injured to save. Yeah. It's the people the same reason you carry a gun, those people whose lives you want to protect with your concealed carry gun, those are the same people's lives you want to save with your medical kit. Now, Jared just gave me the hand. He gave me the finger. Did you give me not that finger? He gave me the index finger. He gave me the index finger telling me that I need to thank my good friend Jay Gibson. Jay Gibson, thank you for being with me this week. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Now, Jay is one of the #1 instructors at Tactical Response. You want to check them out at tacticalresponse.com. You also want to check out our good friends at Crossbreed Holsters. That's crossbreedholsters.com. You want to check out Keltec, KeltecWeapons.com. And then also, don't forget about the guys who provide us with that hard rockin' cool music that you hear at the beginning and the end of every show. That's Madison Rising. Go to MadisonRising.com. They are the official rock band of Student of the Gun, and they are pro-Second Amendment dudes. They appreciate your Second Amendment rights. Hey, and if you want to see me, you want to see my smiling face, you want to see Jared's smiling face, and very soon you will see my good friend Jay Gibson's smiling face once Jared gets all that material edited. Don't forget to watch the show on Dish Network, channel 266, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And very soon, we just did a deal. We're going to be on HD cable on the East Coast, and we'll give you the exact specifics once they're available. So thank you very much for joining us. And remember, you're a beginner once, but you are a student for life.